Welcome back to our channel. This is the third video of the walkthrough of the code to implement the use case. We have been applying infrastructure as a code best practices with modular, dynamic resource creation and clean outputs. We have done dynamic subnetting per availability zone, clean separation of public-private gateway, routing, tagging, proper outputs. In this video, we will wrap up the code walkthrough for implementing the first phase of our use case. This will include code provisioning for an EC2 instance in random subnet, an optional elastic IP attached to the instance, clean tagging and lifecycle handling, output for public IP and instance ID. We'll address add security groups for public and private. We'll add IAM roles and policies, and we will be adding a public and private network access control list. So this is the architecture we're wrapping up. We will be wrapping up the create VPC availability zone with and subnets by adding NACL, roles, etc. And we'll be doing the launch EC2 instance. Over time, we'll be walking through the rest, but that's for later on. Okay, so let's hop into some code. New file. We're gonna do add in security, the security module. Alright, so let's add the security module. So security is critical to any infrastructure, and I took the time out to ensure that I add a significant amount of documentation. Okay. We're doing with has the implementation will have dedicated NACL for private and public. Public NACL will allow for SSH, HTTP, and HTTPS traffic from configured CDRs. The private NACL trusts only traffic from within the VPC. So that's the restriction we're going to apply. At a later date, you can do these, which is restrict public access with your Office IP range, add login for the IAM access, or even VPC flow logs to monitor network traffic. This is at a high level what a NACL is. This is a security layer in AWS that controls traffic at the subnet level within the VPC. Feel free to read on and understand the different terminologies. Much of this, again, was covered in previous videos. Alright, so let's create our public security group. And there you go. That's our public security group. We'll add the public out, the egress, and then let's handle traffic for port 22 SSH, port 80, and port 443 for the public security group. Okay, so we're handling ingress for port 22, which is SSH, 80, which is HTTP, and 443. And we created separate CDRs for these, even though the values are the same. Oops. There you go. We added these variables, allow SSH, allow HTTP. There you go. All right, so let's continue. We'll set up the private security group. It's the same. And we'll add a security group role. And remember, the private is very restricted to, it will only handle traffic within the VPC. So that way, if you have app like databases and so forth, you can place them on EC2s within the private subnet, and hence ensure that only applications within your environment VPC can access that. So let's add some IAM roles and policies, which define access control for servers or users. All right, so let's add one for the EC2. That's the IAM role for the EC2. And let's add one for an S3 bucket. So allowing the S3 bucket, allowing to get objects and list objects. Now let's attach the policy to the role. So for the role, you have a role, and then what you're doing here is you create a policy, and then now you're attaching the policy to the role. All right, so let's add network access, advanced subnet level traffic filtering. So let's advance our traffic filtering a little bit more. For public, and what we're gonna do here, we're gonna be adding for 22, 80, and 443. Note, these rule numbers have to be different. They can be different. This does not have to be 100. You can just give it a number. I just gave it these. So there's no magic to those numbers. They just have to be different. Let's handle outbound rules. Okay. And let's handle the, let's do the association. There you go. For each subnet ID, network access control list ID. All right, so let's do the private NACL and the association for the private NACL. There you go. All right, so this is within the private NACL, and we restricting to only inside the VPC. All right, so we have one more thing we need to do here, is we have to add the EC2 module in .tf new file, and let's add outputs .tf new file variables.tf. All right, so let's build out our EC2 module. Okay. All right, so we're going to use a random shuffle here So we're declaring a random shuffle resource named subnet. What this resource does, it takes a list of randomly shuffle, take a list and randomly shuffles its element. The entire list will be shuffled randomly and will just be taken from the list of sub IDs. In this case, we'll just get one random item from the shuffle list of subnets. Use this with care in production. If you need deterministic subnet placement, randomness can make debugging harder. So be careful when using it in production environment. So let's create an EC2. We're going to create two. We're going to create one for a web app. Don't worry about these. We're going to define these variables. And then we're going to create another one, worker. Okay. And we're going to assign an elastic IP. Okay, optionally. And then we're going to associate the elastic IP to the instance. Okay, there you go. I'll walk through these back. Don't panic. I will make sure you are seeing the code. Okay. We'll handle all those variables that are underlined in red. Okay. So let's take care of our variables, and I always do this. I put it in the wrong file. It should be gone in that file. So sorry about that. All right. So let's put the variables. All right. So we added some variables. Okay. Project name, infra, environment, role, managed by, tags. We talked about why these don't have defaults, but you have the option of doing default. The root size, we're gonna make it 12 gig. Okay, we're gonna use T3, pretty cheap. If your account is new, take advantage of the free smaller micro volumes, micro T3 micro. Take advantage of those EC2s. Okay, so these are all the variables we have, and if we close this, what you'll see in the EC2 main is that all those errors are now gone. All right, so let's add some outputs. Okay, so here you go. We want to make sure do some output for the worker, app instance, and private IP in case it's needed. All right, so let's go over to here. We already added this. I added it, but normally before we do the create this, this would be empty, and then I would add that. So what I'm doing here is utilizing the EC2 module, and I'm applying some tags, making it simple. Okay. All right, what else is needed here? I think that should be it. I don't think let's make sure we have all the variables. Info, CEDAR, public subnet, private, and I added this. These are the size for the modules. There was one I added default over there, but this is the value that would be used because it will be passed through the main onto the EC2 here. So it will override whatever value is over there. Okay. All right. So let's see how many errors we don't have. Oh, sweet.